Hello, Hawaii Hustlers. I am Suzanne Shirley, Emerald Ambassador with Plexus, and I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I am so glad that I'm here with you, week 2 of our incredible study of Shad Helmstetter's What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. Shad Helmstetter, PhD. Last week, we covered chapters 1 through 5, in which we began to discuss the why behind positive self-talk. We began to uncover what doesn't work. We began to discover some of the things that we've attempted to do over and over and over again, thinking that those things would change us, and really, they never did. We always seem to come to a place where we hit a brick wall. And so tonight we're going to discuss that brick wall. We're also going to discuss how it is that we talk to our children and how our self-talk affects our children and the people that we love. And finally, what we're going to discuss is the 5 levels of self-management. When you can learn finally that your self-management is the key to your success, and understand the different levels of self-management and how that comes about, you will truly understand what it takes to start managing yourself in reprogramming the brain. Really, this book is not a touchy-feely, feel-good book. It's not the kind where you read the book and have a touchy-feely emotional experience. No, it is more like a textbook. It is more of a book where you begin to understand the way the brain works and then what it's going to take to reprogram it. And you'll start to believe 100% in this process of erasing and replacing, erasing your old thoughts, your old beliefs, and replacing them with new thoughts and new beliefs, and understanding and really buying in to the whole idea that your thoughts control your actions. Your thoughts control your beliefs, and your beliefs dictate your actions. Now, last week, I had us focus on an assignment that you were to do, and you were to turn this in to your leader. However, your leader has organized it for you to hold yourself accountable, let's say. And you had to realize that you had to start doing some things. We started off with some easy steps, beginning to think about your own self-talk, writing down the things that you think about throughout the day. Do those things help you? Do they hurt you? Are they helpful or hurtful? Do you notice that you're always saying, I can't, I should, or I need to do certain things? Really beginning to focus on what it is that you're saying to yourself, writing it down, understanding, starting to identify some of your greatest fears. And fears, remember, are concepts. They're like ideas that are so connected to emotion. So fears are a whole other ball game. It's like a whole other ball game. We're going to talk more about tonight, not necessarily your fears, but the actual lies that people have told you throughout your life that you've taken on as your own self-beliefs. But back to the previous assignment, you were to identify your biggest fears. And we even had a funeral for your fears where you were actually trying to get rid of them and saying goodbye to them forever. But we all know that even if you really want to get rid of your fears and say goodbye to them forever, that it's going to take a lot of hard work, and it's going to take a lot of reprogramming in the brain. And so, but the first step is to identify your fears. So I'm glad that you all did that and you were all actively doing that. Learning how to actually turn your fears into positive affirmations. There's tons of videos on YouTube. I'm hoping that you're seeking them out. I provided you a link on how to actually reword those affirmations to be in the present tense, to use the words I am instead of I am not, to use affirmations in the positive, like, for example, I speak life to my soul every day, instead of using the negative, saying, I do not say negative things to myself. Okay, so remember that the English language is going to be a very powerful tool in you coming up with how you're going to write your affirmations. And as we continue with this book and we delve into the other chapters and we start to discover actually what self-talk is, we are going to hone in on those affirmations that you've begun to write. And we are going to start learning how to make them more powerful, more specific. We're going to learn how to develop them even more. And we are going to learn how to really utilize this skill, this newfound skill. So you learned how to flip your fears into positive affirmations. And then you began the practice of saying your affirmations to yourself 10 times daily. At the very minimum, setting your personal alarms on your phone, perhaps saying them out loud to yourself with your index cards. Perhaps some of you have found a really great app on your iPhone or your Android device that you can actually record your own affirmations and listen to them every day. You know, the iPhone itself, if you will go into utilities, the iPhone has a voice memo app that's already there that will allow you to record lengthy dissertations to yourself. I do that a lot with my own why, my own personal why, because my why changes and I have an emotional experience or a powerful mental epiphany, and I open up my voice memo and record new discoveries about what I can do in the future, new beliefs that I have in myself. So you can actually use that app. You can also use something that I love. It's called the Think Up app, and I'm going to make sure that you can see it here. The Think Up app, I'm going to pull it up. Do you see the orange one right there with the little leaf on it? The orange one. That's called the Think Up app. And you can buy the free version or you can buy the $9.99 version. And when you invest in the Think Up app, I got the $9.99 version. You're going to have a plethora of a variety of different affirmations that you can say to yourself in various different categories that you struggle with. And we are going to learn how to start discovering the main categories of the things that we struggle with. And we're going to learn how to write and develop scripts of affirmations. Right, but we're going to start with what we did last week and we're going to build on it. So by doing so, and I'm at Leaders Retreat right now, I'm on a plane, even though right now when I'm recording this, I'm really in front of my computer the week before because I really wanted to record this. So you're going to write your answers to these different questions and the assignments that I give you each week. You will have an assignment you will have to complete. Whether you complete it or not is up to you. What you do and with this group is up to you. I will always say the Plexus police are not going to sit on your shoulder and come and say, hey, where's your assignment? Where's your IPA? What you do with this is up to you, and your level of commitment is completely up to you. So I'm going to say this. Some of your team leaders are going to require that you send them the answers to your assignment personally in an instant message or on an email or something like that. I'm personally going to require my team that I have added to this group page to send me their assignments because I feel like in a long comment thread that those assignments are going to get lost. So if your leader has not thought about maybe having you send your answers, you might want to ask your leader about that. But most of us have decided that that's what we're doing. So let's turn to chapter 6. You should already have read these 3 chapters. We are going to go over chapters 6, 7, and 8. So let's talk about the wall. We all have a wall that hits us when we try to move outside of our comfort zone and we come across something that we really feel like we need to do. Our heart is saying, I need to say something to this person. I need to get this person's attention and ask them some questions because I know that they really could use plexus, or I really feel like I need to share the gospel with this person, but I'm so afraid. Are they going to be mad? Are they going to be offended? You know, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in your life, you always are going to come up against a wall unless you learn how to get past that wall. And the assignment that I give you tonight is really going to focus in on that wall, okay? But let's talk about the wall. So all of us talk to ourselves all the time, and our self-talk may be spoken in words or unspoken in thoughts, okay? I know that a lot of the negativity that I do not want to come out of my mouth many times does not come out of my mouth, but it goes around and around right up here. And how in the world do we control what goes around on up here? It's called the subconscious mind. You know, we have control about what comes out of our mouth. A lot of us, we can say, I am not going to say that again, and we can put forth effort and we can stop what comes out of our mouth. But more often than not, what goes on up here is free game. It just goes on and on and on. It's perpetual in nature. And it's like we don't have control over it. Now, let's talk about that. Our brains are thinking machines that never shut down. Most of our self-talk is unconscious. It's unconscious to us. We are not consciously saying, I'm going to think about this. Self-talk comes in feelings that we cannot quite put into words. We have feelings, little flashes and flickers. All of our thoughts, all of these pictures in our minds are always tied to something else that we already know about. Okay, so thoughts are tied to something that we already know about. What is that? That's called prior knowledge. Prior knowledge, prior experiences. You know, I was a teacher for 23 years, and I know that whenever I taught a concept to my students, I always had to connect that concept to something they already knew. Because when I connected that new concept with previous knowledge, with something they already had an idea or a grasp on, they were going to be able to grasp the new concept. So our brains work like that. Okay, our thoughts are little pictures in our minds that are associated with something that we already know about. We already knew about. Every new thought you think has to have some old thought that it's attached to, a proper place for it to fit into. So it's attached to something from the old, something from before, something in our past. The more we believe about something, the more we will accept others' ideas which are similar. Let me say it again. The more we believe about something, the more we will accept other ideas that are similar. Remember, we're accepting new ideas, new concepts, because they might be similar or connected to previous knowledge, right? Previous ideas. So the more you think about yourself in a certain way, the more that you're going to think about yourself in the same certain way. You're not going to break out of the ways that you think about yourself, even if you learn a new concept, because you're going to tie that new concept to prior self-knowledge, prior self-experiences, prior things you have learned. Do you see the wall? Do you see it coming up? This is the wall. I'm beginning to uncover it for you. Understand that it's easy to understand why it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. They've got a wall too. The longer you have bought into that thought, the truer that thought becomes to you, the truer it is. So basically, those thoughts become our truth. And they might not be true at all. In fact, they might be very huge lies that we've just bought into for decades and decades. Have you conceived that in your mind yet? Start to think about this wall. Okay, a self-made wall of negative self-talk. Let's think about this wall, all right? Most of the people who use negative self-talk are not aware of what they're saying. We don't even know what we're saying. And when people say negative things, they're not aware of what they're saying either. But everything that they say, negative, affirmative, whatever, affects us and everyone else around them. If we're around someone speaking negatively, it affects us. There is no way that it won't. A few, if any of them, are aware of the power of that programming, the negative programming that they're giving themselves. So they're giving that to themselves and they're giving it to others. Okay, I think I have said just about all of these that are on this list, but I'm going to name some of them for you. I can't remember names. So imagine if you say, I can't remember names, and you keep saying that to yourself over and over again, but you go to a party or an engagement someplace, and you have constantly told yourself for days and decades maybe that you can't remember names, but you go to this party and you meet some new people and you say, oh, nice to meet you, Darren. Oh, nice to meet you, Cindy. And you say to yourself, I'm going to remember that name. And you even repeat it out loud. It's so nice to meet you, Cindy. It's so great to meet you, Darren. And you walk away repeating the name. Guess what? You're not going to remember it. Why? Because you have programmed yourself over and over and over that you don't remember names. And you've dug a rut in your brain that says, I don't remember names. And so even though you are intending to remember those people's names, you're not going to, because you have told yourself enough and believed in that lie that you don't remember names. Oh, it's just going to be one of those days. It's just no use. I just know that won't work. Nothing ever seems to go right for me. It's just my luck. I am so clumsy. That's one of my big ones. I used to say to myself, I am like a bull in a china closet. I trip into everything and I knock everything over. Okay, well, I'm just going to be a self-prophesying person here. So now, because I've said that so many times, I'm going to just walk into walls all the time and trip over things and create messes, right? It's just like I'm creating my own reality by saying that to myself. I don't have that talent. I'm just not creative. How many times have I said I'm not creative? Because I'm so analytical. I'm so analytical. That's my nature. I'm very analytical with words. But just because I'm analytical doesn't mean I'm creative. But the more I tell myself that I'm not creative, that makes me think I'm not creative. And then my capability of doing something creative is stunted when it's time to create something, right? I'm not going to believe in myself. I eat everything that goes right into my waist. Everything I eat goes there. I can't seem to get organized. Today just isn't my day. I can never afford the things that I want. I already know I won't like this. No matter what I do, I can't seem to lose weight. I never have enough time. A big one. I say it to everyone I know most of the time. I never have enough time. This really makes me mad. This really makes me mad. How does that help? It doesn't. You're just going to self-prophesy the fact that when the next thing happens that's aggravating, you're just going to get angry, really angry about it. When will I ever learn? Okay? Is any of this helpful? Ask yourself that question. I sometimes get just sick thinking about it. Sometimes I just hate myself. I am just no good. I am too shy. How about this? I'm too loud. I'm too bossy. I'm too aggressive. I'm too overbearing. Those are the ones that I've told myself over and over. I never know what to say to anyone. With my luck, I will never have a chance. I've never been any good at math. That was my number one thing. I am no math. I used to say to all my friends, I am Suzanne, no math, Shirley. I am no good with numbers. Give me words, I can do anything, but numbers, I can't do a thing with them. Well, that's self-prophesying. I'm reprogramming the brain to say, I cannot handle numbers. I can't think analytically with numbers. I mean, how self-limiting is that? Because we work in a business with numbers. I never win anything. Nobody wants to pay me what I'm worth. I'm just no good at XYZ. I get a cold every time this year. What a terrible thing to really self-prophesy sickness in your body. You just can't trust anyone anymore. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So when you say you can't trust it, I can't trust anybody anymore. You just can't trust anyone. So now we just don't believe in people. Now we don't believe in human potential. Now we are skeptical of every single person and think that they're all going to take advantage of us and that there's no good human being out there waiting to do good. Now, what kind of a terrible thing is that? To program your brain to think these things about yourself and other people. So imagine sitting down at your own personal keyboard on your computer and typing any one or all of these directions into your computer, and imagine that your computer will do exactly what you program it to do, because that is exactly what we are doing, my friends. We are programming our brains to live out those lies that we have spoken to ourselves over and over. So I've just given you so many different examples. I'm going to keep going. The human brain will do anything possible that you tell it to do if you tell it often enough, and strongly enough. If you tell it the wrong thing about yourself, that is exactly what it will accept, and it will act upon it every single time. So let's talk about, and that was chapter 6. Let's talk about passing on your self-limiting beliefs and your negative self-talk to the people that you love in your family and to your children. Now, I am a wife. I've been married for 20 years, and we are extremely happy, and we have a little dog. I don't have children, but I was a teacher for 23 years, retired as of 2016. Thank you very much. And, I'm recording, so I'm going to have to decline this phone call. Oh, that was hard to do. That was coming from my doctor's office. So we pass on our self-limiting beliefs all the time to the people that we love. Unless we learn differently, we end up giving the same programming to our own children. We do that. Think about some of the things that we say. How many times have I said this to my students? As I started to learn some of these things, I caught myself, and I've been so ashamed, and I've had to apologize. I've apologized a lot to my students. You're just not, of course, I can't imagine saying this to a student. You're just not good at that. You're just not good at that. You know what? I think I've said that. You know what? It's okay. I taught Spanish for 23 years, and I said, it's okay if you're just not good at Spanish. It's okay. You're just not good at it. Who cares? You've got other things that you're good at. I mean, why would I tell a child that he's not good or she's not good at Spanish and just accept it and move on and be glad that they're good at other things? What a self-limiting thing to instill into a child's brain. Oh my gosh, I did say these things to my students. I did. Your room is always a mess. Can't you do anything right? Hard chapter, isn't it? You're just like your father. I remember when I was a child, my mother divorced my father when I was a year old, and they were married for 10 years, and then they had me, and then they divorced. And so I never knew my dad until I was in my early 20s. I just didn't. And my mother, I love her so much, but she told me all the things that my father did that were wrong. And he was very wrong. Don't get me wrong. He was wrong. But whenever she said to me, you are just like your father, what was I supposed to think? Here is my father who wronged her, who did all these horrible things, right? And I'm supposed to associate myself with that and therefore conclude that I'm a bad person too? She didn't mean to hurt me. You don't mean to hurt your children. We don't mean to hurt these people. We don't mean to hurt the loved ones in our lives, but we do. We are completely unaware of what we're doing. We need to start becoming aware. I'm going to keep reading. Why can't you be more like your sister? Why can't you be more like your brother? You'll never be an artist. You'll never be an athlete. You'll never be an NBA player. You're never going to be the president of the United States. That's for only certain people. Why are you so preoccupied with this particular career path? It's just not your thing. It's not your thing. You just don't try. If you could only try harder. If you just tried harder, you would be better, but you just don't try. You never listen to me. I tell you to do something and you just do the opposite. You never study. How about this? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Your grades are atrocious. You talk way too much. You always hang around with the wrong kind of friends. You are lazy. You don't care about anybody but yourself. You are determined to cause problems. And you know what? You just don't think before you speak. You just don't think about anything before you do whatever it is that you're doing. You don't think at all. How many times have we heard this from our parents, people that loved us, that were so well-meaning and had no idea that they were programming us to believe bad things about ourselves that were not true, that were lies, actually, that only defined their own beliefs about us. Okay? By using these words that program a child in the wrong way, we unwittingly help the child create a self-identity which believes that what we are saying is the actual truth. They start to believe it because they believe, whatever they believe is the truth for them, right? We create a picture portrait of how that child sees himself or herself inside, and eventually will become. They will become that, which is atrocious. All of us have had these dreams. All of us deserve to see our dreams come true. Were it not for this brick wall of bad programming, there's the wall I was talking about. If it were not for that big brick wall of bad programming that stands in our way, each of us each day would be living out more of these dreams, reaching heights of attainment that we seldom even dream of. Our subconscious mind is like a sponge. It will believe anything that you tell it to believe. It will even believe a lie. It will even believe a lie. If you tell it often enough and strongly enough, it will believe the lie. The brain makes no moral judgments. It simply accepts what you tell it. So it's like a machine that never sleeps. It is. It's like a machine that never sleeps. And much of our self-talk is made up of the quiet nudges of self-doubt, constantly doubting ourselves. The unspoken fears of little or grand failures. The fears, unspoken fears of little failures. The unspoken fears of grand failures. The nagging discomfort of knowing that things are not right. Do you feel that in your head all the time? Do you walk around with that? The constant self-doubt, this doubting feeling about yourself? That's the wall. That is the wall that's in our brains. That's the computer that's been programmed the wrong way, believing the lies. So when we go around and talk to our friends, it sometimes seems easier to talk about our problems than about exciting potential things that are going to happen to us. We just focus on the negative. We focus on our problems because that's where we live. It's easier to talk about the negative things. We've told ourselves over and over, consciously and unconsciously, what does not work. We've just gone over and over what doesn't work. We've talked about it, we've thought about it, we've talked about it some more. In the past, too often, we learned to automatically believe the worst things. First, we believe the worst things. And then we believe the best. But it's last on the list. How often has this happened to you? I don't know. It's happened to me. When my husband will call me on the phone and he says, the first words out of his mouth, I need to talk to you. Okay, what is on my mind? I'm thinking, did you get into an accident? Were you fired from your job? Did somebody die? What horrible tragedy are you getting ready to tell me about? I am primed to expect the negative. And I don't know why, except for that I read it in this book, which is telling me that I am living with a wall. I'm living with a wall of negativity that's programmed my brain to be pessimistic and to think that the first thing that's going to happen is the negative thing and not to expect the positive. So all of this, though, my friends, can change. And Shad Helmstetter starts to reveal to you how it can change beginning in the next chapter. The key is to learn how to manage yourself. And I'm not talking about self-help ideas like how to manage your time, how to be more generous, how to be more productive. No, I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about how to manage your literal self in your brain on the inside and how to live and manage the rest of your life as a result. So let's talk about the self-management sequence, okay? So this is the last chapter I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to give you your assignment, okay? Success and achievements are the result of something else. When you succeed at something, it's not a reason. Let me just read this stuff. But these are the main ideas from the chapter. Success and achievements in themselves are the result of something else entirely. And we're going to discuss what that something else is. Failures are also the result of something else. What is that something else? That something else is you. Look, do your successes happen as a happenstance, like a random thing? Do you fail as a result of happenstance, some random thing? No. You succeed or you fail based on something else, not just random acts, not just randomly. That something else is you, my friends. You are that something else. So you must learn to actually manage that something else, which leads you to success. And that something else is you. I know that sounds redundant. So what seems to happen to you happens because of you. I'm going to say it again. This is a big, big idea. It's called the law of attraction. Go and look it up on Google. Go and look it up on Netflix. There's a video you can watch. I know if you're a Christian and you think that this is the name it and claim it thing, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea that you can literally create what happens to you. I'm not talking about the hocus pocus where you speak it into existence and therefore it happens like you're God. No, we are not God. We don't speak anything into existence. Like we're not the creator. Like our words are not creative power, meaning that in the sense that when I say, let there be light, and it turns light outside. No, that's God, the divine, amazing God Almighty. I'm not talking about that. But I am talking about the biblical principle, who Shad Helmstetter does not talk about this, but your words have power. Your words speak life or death. There is either life or the death that comes out of your mouth spoken by the tongue. That's a biblical principle. So you can either create life for yourself or create death for yourself, depending on what comes out of your mouth. That's what I'm saying. So our words, if we can create life with our own words and speak life into ourselves, don't you think that what we have to say is responsible for our success? or what we have to say is responsible for our failure? That's the point I'm trying to make. So your success or whatever happens to you happens because of you. Something that you created, that you directed, that you influenced, or you allowed to happen. You've got to take responsibility for that. It's about personal responsibility and self-management. Your achievements, your successes, all of it, large or average, are not accidental. They're a result of you doing something. So, something that you did or didn't do was the cause of that success or failure. So how does that work? Okay, there are 5 steps to self-management. I just wanted to really, really nail down the idea and the concept that you are literally the creator of the good or the bad that happens to you. Are there things that are outside of our control? Yes, there are plenty of things that happen to us that are not within our control. Okay? Car accident, something terrible happening. You can't control if your roof flies off your house in a storm or if your car breaks down. But you know what? There are lots of things that you can control that you can take responsibility for. And most of that is your responsibility, your success or your failure. So I nailed down that concept. And now here are the 5 steps of self-management. Behavior is the first one. Behavior is your actions. The right series of the right actions will always end up making things work better than the wrong series of the wrong actions, quite frankly. Okay? How you manage yourself, what you do, how you act each and every moment, every word you speak, the motions that you make, the actions you take or do not take will determine how well anything in your life works out for you. So, what's the question? Why do we do what we do? Why do we not do the things that we know we should do? And so often say and do the things that we know that we should not. Why? What's the answer? It's because we don't know any better? No. We usually know what's right and wrong. We know the difference between right and wrong, so we do know better. Why do we do it? Because our actions are controlled. In other words, our behaviors are controlled by our feelings. Feelings. So every action we take is first filtered through the feelings that we have. How we feel about something will always determine or affect what we do and how well we do it. Think about how you feel about something. If you feel great about something, you're going to most likely do it well. If you feel terrible about something, you're not going to even attempt it. And if you tried to, you will definitely not be successful about it because you don't feel good about it. You don't have good feelings about it. So how in the world can you even assume that you could be successful at something you don't feel good about? Think about that. The fear of flying. If you don't feel good about flying, then will you ever get on a plane and successfully go on a flight? No, you're going to avoid that at all costs. Every single chance that presents itself, you are not going to fly. You're not going to get on a plane. All of your feelings affect your actions. So if you feel a certain way, you're not going to do something. So what causes us to have these feelings, which are so much a part of us? Do they happen by chance? No, they don't. They don't happen by chance. They are caused, controlled, created, and determined and influenced by our attitudes. Attitudes. Wow. You know, I used to have a saying on my classroom wall, attitude is everything. Nothing more, nothing less, attitude. Life is 90%, 10%, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. In other words, your attitude. Your attitude is everything. 10% circumstance, that's what life is, 90% attitude. Wow. Well, let's think about those attitudes. Most of us have a combination of attitudes, some good and some not so good. A good attitude is essential to achievement of any kind. We know that, right? A good attitude. But without a good attitude, a perspective which allows one to see the opportunities ahead and set his sights to reach them, he never's going to do it. He never will do it without a right attitude, without a good attitude. He's never going to achieve success. So where do we get the attitudes that we have? Where do we get them? Are we just born with them? Do they appear out of nowhere? Do they just happen out of happenstance? No. They don't just happen. They're created, controlled, and influenced by our beliefs. Now we're getting to somewhere. Trust me. Here we go. Where do we get our beliefs? Well, first of all, beliefs are powerful, aren't they? And wouldn't you agree with me that a lot of our beliefs might not be true? They're true for us, but they might not be true. Would you have an open enough mind to at least admit that some, not all, but some of your beliefs might be lies? Ask yourself that question. I would say yes to that. Yes, I can say right now that some of the beliefs that I have claimed for myself in my own mind and my own life very much could be lies that I just believe that are true. But I believe them. And when I believe them, my brain accepts them as truth. That's powerful. So follow me here. The belief that we have about anything is so powerful that it can even make something appear to be something different than what it really is. Okay, so here's the thing. I've lost 100 pounds and I've kept it off since 2006. That's way before Plexus, all right? So in my mind, I'm still the 260-pound person. Okay. And so when I'm out of control with my food, when I'm overeating, when I'm doing something that I feel guilty about with my food that's regarding food, in my mind, I feel huge. I feel huge, and therefore I believe that I am, and I believe it so strongly that when I walk in front of a mirror, sometimes I'm shocked that I'm not that huge person anymore. I'm shocked. And it's because the mind is so powerful that it has me believing that I am still that 100-pound heavier person. Now that is a powerful thing. Our mind is so powerful. Our beliefs are so strong. We've got to examine our beliefs. Belief does not require that something be true. Belief does not require that something be true. It only requires us to believe. It only requires us to believe that it's true. That's it. A belief only requires us to believe that it's true, not that it actually is in reality true. I know this is a word game here. Our brain does not need for us to know specifically that factually the thing that we believe is true. But whatever we believe in our brain, it takes it on as truth. All right, so get moving on. Let's say you believe that you had trouble making friends easily or being accepted easily and naturally by others. So what are you going to do? You're going to, every time you end up in social situations, you are not going to approach people. You're not going to make friends with people. You're not going to think that people are going to want to talk to you because you've been rejected, and you've got in your mind that you think that the people that are in this room are never going to talk to you, are not going to want to be your friend. So you're not going to even make the attempt. You are literally conditioned by your own self-limiting beliefs that no one is born popular or socially adept. You're sitting there believing that, okay? But I want you to believe that yourself, that you're not popular or socially adept, that you can easily make friends. But here's the thing. You're not born that way. You're not born unpopular, and you're not born socially inept. You're not born that way. Every social grace and skill and comfort level that we have, successful or unsuccessful, those that be, is based on what we believe about ourselves, not born in us. So therefore, Okay, we've heard this all the time. A born leader. Are you a born leader? Or can those traits actually be learned and acquired? Can those skills be learned and acquired? I am here to tell you right now that leadership is learned, is taught, is caught, and acquired. It is a skill set. It is not born. And if you believe that you are not a born leader and therefore you are destined to not be a leader, you are believing a lie. Because none of this stuff is born in us. None of it. So, what makes us believe something? Does it just spring out of nowhere? Is it handed to us on the day that we're born? I just said no. Or do we create them ourselves? Our beliefs? Yes, absolutely we do. Most of our beliefs are actually not even true. They're lies. They're beliefs about ourselves, and they're created and directed by what? By our programming. So, how in the world were we programmed to think? Why are we programmed like this? Did we do it to ourselves? Most of the programming that has happened in our brains has happened because of other people. I just, in the previous chapter, talked about how we talk to our loved ones and how we speak to our children. Do you understand that your loved ones and your parents and others in your life as you were growing up have handed to you self-limiting beliefs? And those self-limiting beliefs you've taken on as truth, and those have programmed your brain, and they literally are there in your brain as truth. Most of them are lies. Most of them are lies. We are programmed to believe what we believe. We are conditioned from the day that we're born. Those things that we're told, they've created, reinforced, and nearly permanently cemented most of what we believe about ourselves and what we believe most about what goes on around us. This is programming. Okay. Successful self-management, or the unsuccessful self-management of ourselves, our resources, and our futures. That's what programming is. So here's the 5 series of things that happen. This is so powerful. I want you to get this. Your programming that I just defined for you, that's given to you, that's told to you all of your life from the day that you're born on, that programming affects your beliefs. It creates your beliefs that you believe, which most likely are lies, right? And those beliefs then create attitudes that you have. And those attitudes then generate feelings that you have about things. And those feelings then determine your actions that you will take or not take, which then produce or never produce results. Do you see why we are living up against a wall here? There's the wall. You're not going to get the results because of the 5 little series of things that I just explained, from programming, the programming from the day that we're born by other people, instilled into us, taken on as beliefs, which mostly are lies that we believe about ourselves and other people and the way that things work around us, which then generate the attitudes, which then our attitudes generate feelings about things and people and situations, which then determine our actions, which then create results or the lack of results. So if you want to manage yourself better, you are going to have to change the programming, which happened at birth and on. That's the first step that generates all of this sequence, the programming. The programming is what needs to be changed. How do we do that? How do we change the programming? My friends, with positive self-talk. And that's for next week. So what I want to do is I want to ask you 3 questions. I want to ask you 3 questions. And I want you to ask yourself these questions, okay? I'm going to read into my screen because I think it's easier if I'm looking at this, because then I can actually look at you, okay? You must get really vulnerable with yourself with these questions, okay? I want you to remember that you've got to go within. You must go within, not outside of yourself to find the answers to these questions. You have to look inside of yourself. You can't go to the next meeting. You can't find the next greatest video, the next greatest self-help topic, time management, the 5-second rule, time blocking. You know, I could name a million different self-help things. You got to go within yourself and examine the lies that were told to you. You've got to start thinking about them, and you've got to start writing them down. I'm not talking about fears anymore. That was last week. You were to write down the fears that you know that were limiting you, the fears that you have that hold you back. Now I'm talking about your self-limiting beliefs. I want you to go inside. We're going to be peeling back onion layers, finding out what are the lies that people have told us throughout our lives. Discover what they are and write them on paper. Sometimes, I really want you to be so in tune with this that you might sit down and start to think of a few, but then hit a roadblock and you can't think of any more. But I want you to make this the number one priority. Set a reminder on your phone if you have to. Remind yourself on your phone, set it up to remind you all day long, 3 or 4 times a day. What are some lies that people have told you? What are some more lies that people have told you? What are some lies that you've believed about yourself? And start writing them down. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you think about them, put them down on your phone, have a pencil or paper next to your bed and write them down. I want you to really think about some of these self-limiting beliefs, and you're going to have to really peel back some onion layers, and you might not like to look at them. Some of it might not be so positive and pretty to look at. I want you to know this is a private group. This is a secret group. I want everybody to promise that what we say here does not leave the group. We're not going to go out and talk about it to anyone else. But I want you to feel like you can be transparent in this group, okay? I want you to also know that we aren't counselors here. We are jewels, but we all have our own problems too. We all have our own limiting self-beliefs that we are working through, our own fears that we fight off every single day. And we're not counselors. We can't change your reality. We can't help you to work through some of your things. Some things we can help with, but a lot of the things that we can't help with. I just want you to know that. So that's a disclaimer first. But we all love and support you here, okay? So feel like you can say what you need to say in the comments, all right? Question 1. When you decide to be bold and step out of your comfort zone and feel held back, what is the negative self-talk that you hear in your head? What is that talk that goes on? And where does it come from? Where does it come from? What event? Who gave it to you? Who gave you that self-talk? Who gave you those beliefs? I really want you to think about that. When you decide that you're going to step out of your comfort zone and do something really amazing that you know you need to do in order to be successful, but you feel really held back. I just can't do that. Oh my God, I can't do that. What is that self-talk that's going on up in there? What is that? You've got to write it down. Those are most likely the lies that you've believed your whole life about yourself. Okay? I want you to define where it comes from. Think about what event that happened or events and write those down. And also who specifically, more than one maybe, gave those thoughts, those beliefs to you. Okay? Who handed those to you? If you knew, question 2 here, okay? If you knew that you could give that limited belief back to the person or persons who loaned them to you, those beliefs or beliefs, after all these years, and break free and have anything you wanted out of your life or your business, would you do whatever it took to make this happen? If you knew really that if you could hand back those self-limiting beliefs to the person or persons that gave them to you and really unlock your full potential, your divine right given to you by God to be and become the best version of you and unlock full potential on yourself and on your business, would you do it? Would you do whatever it took to make it happen? And if you say yes, guess what? You're going to have to say more than yes. I need more than a yes answer. You need to expound on that, okay? And as you do your affirmations this week, I want you to visualize yourself, okay? And I want you to know this is not a mean thing, okay? You're not being mean doing this. I really want you to do this. Visualize yourself standing in front of the person or persons that handed you those beliefs, those limiting self-beliefs that you've borrowed for so long. And I want you to put them on a platter and visualize it, handing them back to that person that gave them to you. Okay? Imagine that you have been carrying around bags and bags and bags of garbage and trash and rubbish. Things that do not fit you, things that don't describe you, things that are really not who you are. You have believed them for years. They are lies that were told to you, and you have taken those on as truth, and you have identified who has given those to you, and you've identified what they are, and now you need to visualize handing them back and saying to this person, I love you and I care about you, but I cannot believe this anymore about myself. And I am handing these back to you. These are what you think about me. They are not what I think about me. They are not true about me. And I want you to, and I've done this with my team before, and many of them felt guilty handing these beliefs back. You're not really handing them back to somebody. I mean, in real life, you're not going to go find the person that made you believe poorly of yourself and literally say, here's the garbage that you handed me. So don't feel bad about this visualization. You're not hurting anyone by doing it. You're only helping yourself. So I really want you to visualize this. Okay? Visualize yourself. And I want you to remember 2 Timothy 1:7. It says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Scientific research confirms daily that what you're thinking in your brain every single day affects your body, your optimal mental and physical health. These thoughts collectively form your attitude, your own state of mind, and it's your attitude, not your DNA, which determines much of the quality of your life. And that comes from the amazing Jennifer Rothschild from Self-Talk, Soul Talk, a great book that you might want to go and look into. Jennifer Rothschild from Self-Talk, Soul Talk. And she has rewritten that book, and it's called Me, Myself, and Lies. Okay, just another book. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm just giving you an idea. This is a wonderful, biblically based book on how you need to be speaking to yourself and how God thinks about you and speaks to you. So why not speak the way that he thinks and speaks to you, to yourself? How about why not you do that for yourself? So I want you to remember 2 Timothy 1:7 this week. And, your thoughts are where your personal power is. It's time to take control of them and not let them run amok. And not always, every time you want to do something amazing that you know you should do, hit up against a wall and you can't get past it. It's time to break free. So with that, I want you to answer these questions. And next week, we are going to read chapters 9, 10, and 11. And I want you to be ready next Tuesday night for us to go even further into this idea of how to create the new programming for our brains. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight. Go Hawaii Hustlers, go Plexus, and go reprogram the brain with this amazing new skill that we're going to learn how to do, positive, affirming self-talk. I love you all. Mwah.